Should atheist groups receive the same tax breaks that religious organizations get? The federal government thinks so. The U.S. government wants to give tax breaks to leading atheist groups, saying that atheist leaders can be considered ministers. Atheists, however, say we are not a church and have no interest in being considered as such. A court battle over the tax break that allows ministers of the gospel to claim part of their salary as tax-free housing is being contested by Freedom from Religion, a Madison, Wisconsin-based atheist organization that believes the exemption gives religious groups an unfair advantage and is unconstitutional. But government lawyers say that atheist leaders can be ministers too, since atheism can function as a religion. Here to discuss the ongoing battle is Jamila Bey, host of the Sex, Politics, and Religion Hour, and a board member of the American Atheists. Thank you for being here, Jamila.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Now, I want to start off by asking you, do other atheist organizations around the country agree with the organization Freedom Against Religion, with their stance?
Okay, so the Freedom churches, if we look at what the law actually says, ministers of the gospel are entitled to take tax breaks for their housing. But here's the thing. Any nonprofit organization in the U.S. should either be able to be treated as people who are doing, groups that are doing good work, or they should get the same protections that religious organizations do. The problem is that atheist groups are not churches. None of the groups are using a supernatural claim to a higher power. You know, rabbis aren't ministers of the gospel. Imams aren't ministers of the gospel. But if we're all doing organizational work that requires organization, exemptions for housing, either everybody gets it or nobody does. Don't try and fudge the issue by saying you're a church and you act as a religion, you act as a minister. Absolutely not. Even the government doesn't buy that. They're bemused by the whole thing.
Now, what, in your opinion, makes this tax exemption specifically unconstitutional?
Congress shall make no law. Okay, here's the deal. Let's pretend that you, Aaron, are Minister Aaron, and I am non-Minister Jamila. Now, if your job says you can have part of your salary in housing, that's money that all taxpayers are giving to you. You can deduct it off of your taxes and you don't have to report it. Whereas if I say, okay, well, I work with a school group that teaches science, I don't get the taxpayers to help pay my mortgage. That's unjust. Only because you claim to have some supernatural thing going on do you get a real and easy to see benefit that I can't even apply for simply because I don't claim to have God or gods or whatever on my side. It's unequal treatment. The 14th Amendment says equal protection under the law. That's what we're looking at here. You are treated in a manner that is preferential, and I am not. Also, when we look at the fact that just the paperwork required to become a church, if you say, I am Minister Aaron, I want to be a church, the government says, here's your 501c3 exemption, enjoy. You don't have to tell us how you're spending your money. You don't have to tell us, oh, that housing exemption, well, how much actually are you paying? Well, that's a little changed now since Rick Warren and Saddleback, was taking $70,000 for his own housing and then protested when the government said, hey, prove that you need that much. If I am Jamila, not a minister, I've got to fill out a form that says, I want to be a nonprofit. Government, here's your $800 up front. Every year I've got to fill out a Schedule 990 form, which I've got to go to an accountant and pay those fees. It's a burden that I've got to do every single year. And just because, Minister Aaron, for the sake of this argument, Minister Aaron, you're a church, you don't have to do that. You don't have to keep going back and disclosing what you get. You don't have to disclose anything at all. How do we know who's doing any kind of financial malfeasance?
Right.
Isn't it in the interest of the government to learn that?
Now, what do you ultimately hope for in this court battle? What would you like to see happen?
Everybody gets the exemption or nobody gets it. Do not try and, play lawyer ball and go, you atheists are churches and ministers. Nobody believes that. Even the lawyers making that argument don't believe it. It's an intellectual exercise for them. The real fact of the matter is that all Americans need to be treated equally. This country was founded on that principle. This weekend of all, you know, the anniversary of the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, wanted everybody treated equally, whether one is religious or whether one is not.
Do you think that religion can provide a societal good?
It can. So can rave parties. So can team sports. A lot of things can provide good. Do they? Sometimes. If you're going to give me a tax break, give me a tax break if I do good. Not because I'm doing good in hopes of avoiding hell or because that's what my religious tradition tells me. Do it because it's good to do. Do it because it benefits Americans.
Jamila, thank you very much. That was Jamila Bey, host of the Sex, Politics, and Religion Hour.